Hey, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to use the Room database to save all of these products offline so that this app will be functional without internet. So right now, if I kill the app, I'll go ahead and kill it, open it back up. You see that loading icon for a brief second, and then it loads all of these products. I have fast internet, so that's no surprise. But what if I were to I have mobile data off, and what if I were to turn off the Wi-Fi? Now let's kill the app and open it back up again. And you'll notice that, hey, we can't even load the products. That's because that JSON file is hosted on one of my websites. So the loading icon there, it's trying to download new products, but there aren't any new products because, well, there are products, but it can't reach the products because internet is off. So it's just gonna go there forever. If I were to turn internet back on, I'll just turn Wi-Fi back on my emulator. Might need to kill the app again, open it back up again, and see it loads instantly. So here are our products. So today we're going to use the Room database. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to work through documentation. So a lot of times when we're building an app, it can be kind of hard, but thankfully there's usually a lot of documentation we can follow. So let's go ahead and get started. So we know what we're going to do. We're going to use the Room database to save all of these products. Probably won't save images at this point, but we'll at least save some of these products here, and let's just see how far we get. This may need to be a couple of tutorials. You can follow along or just watch whatever. Let's get started. Okay, so cool, we have that. So I'm gonna go ahead and close everything up. And if I were to go here, let's do something. Let's do Android Room, and let's open up this, and we see the Room persistence library. That's exactly what we want. We're gonna be using this. So the first thing we can do is to import Room into our database. We usually need to add something to our Gradle files. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the release notes, and you can see we have dependencies here. So as is common with most libraries, if you want to use a new feature that somebody else used, we need to copy some stuff. So it kind of explains what it's for, but all we need are these first two lines right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy those. And it's important to note this comment right there for Kotlin use capt instead of annotation processor. So let's go ahead and copy this. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Let's go back to the app. Let's open up the Gradle files and then the module app. And let's come down here and let's just paste it in here. Then it's really important for Kotlin use capt instead of annotation processor. So a lot of times, it's important to note in the last video we did add that, so that's what kind of processes it. So let's go down to here and let's do capt and let's format that. I think that's all good. Now let's go ahead and sync that. So now when I hit the sync button, Room version. So we need to go ahead and do that. So if you look at the example here, it's using a variable. So it's using the Room database 2.1.0 alpha 6, and that's using the variable there and there. Let's just go ahead and do something else. So a lot of times we can actually just put in 1.0. And then if we wait a second, see how it kind of highlights it? It says, hey, 2.0.0 is available there. So I'm going to click on it, do Alt-Enter, then just select change to 2.0.0. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to get rid of that. You can also do 0.1 or whatever. And it says, hey, it's an old version. Put your mouse over it. It says, hey, there's 2.0.0 is available. Click on it, do Alt-Enter, and let's change it to 2.0.0. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Let's try to sync this again, and when we sync it, it's going to go to the internet and pull in all of the Room library that we need. I think this has worked, so let's go ahead and kill that. Let's go back into Java. Let's go back into here, and let's go back to our guide. Let's kind of see what we need to do. That's all we need to do to add it to the our Gradle files. But if you look here, we can see there's a training guide here. So let's kind of work through this together. So Room, it kind of explains Room and stuff. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set up our kind of data model. Now, if you notice before, we created a model here, and it's for product. And we're using this to actually, I think it's inside of main fragment. Yeah, so we have, and this is kind of complicated, and we could clean it up in a future video, but we're using the product right there. So we're going to that URL, which is just a JSON file. Then we are going to we're gonna go there, we're gonna go to the internet, download that products, and that's where it has that loading icon. Then we're gonna get, for every product, we're gonna add it to a list, and we're gonna show it inside of our recycler view. We did this all in a previous video, so if you need to review, you can go back and review that, but that's what it's for. But if you go back to here, what I wanna do is I wanna create, actually, let's just go ahead and just copy this. No, let's not. Well, let's just create our own. So the first thing we need to do is create our entity and user there. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and let's go back inside of model. I'm actually going to close that, and just to keep things so we can just to keep things to where it might make more sense, let's create a new package, database, and this is basically a new folder here. So we have a database, and we have our model folder. Let's go ahead and close the model folder because we're not going to use that. So let's come here, let's do new Kotlin file, and we'll call this, let's call this, just to make it super clear for this video, and this is probably a bad name, but just to make it really clear, I'm going to call it product from database. Now in a future video, we'll change that to something more meaningful. We'll go ahead and make that a class, and we'll save it here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make it a data class. So data. And to do that, we get rid of that. And then we make a data class here. Now it's complaining because we don't have anything. But if you look at the documentation, the first thing we need to do is inside of our new model there, we need to do entity, and it automatically imports Room Manager in. Okay, so we have our entity there. The next thing we need to do is we need to actually annotate each of our values. So if you look here, so this is for a user, and for each user it has an ID, it has a first name, and it has a last name. So the important part is this primary key and column info. So what we need to do is we need to add that. So for this product, let's just give it an ID. So we'll do primary key, and then we'll do val, we'll call this UID, I guess, int. So this should work. So right now, if I were to save this and run this, nothing would happen. We still have a lot more work to do, and I'm trying to make this as simple as possible, but just maybe watch the video first through to get a hang for what we're doing. So we have our ID, and just to keep things simple, let's also add we'll add a title. Yeah, a title might work. So let's do this. So we'll just go ahead and do val title, and then we do of type string, because string is what we need. And let's do, I'm trying to think of what else we had in the other model. We also had a description, we had a photo URL, we had let's just to keep it simple, let's just add just a title. So that's all we're going to add. So we have a UID, which we shouldn't, and we have a title also. So the important thing we need to do is tell Room that, hey, we want this title to be in the database. We already let it know that we have a primary key there, but for this title, and let's just clean it up a little bit. So that's one thing, and that's another thing. So at the beginning of this, let's do column info. And if we look at the documentation, then sure enough, yeah, we have column info there. And this is kind of optional. So you notice in here, it's camel case with first name and then the N capitalized. But if we want to name it something else in the database, we can do name equals, and then we can use underscore. So in this case, they're using an underscore. I think it's fine the way it is. So all we need is column info, and that's good. Let's actually do one more thing. We'll do price. So column info, val price, and this will be a double. So there we go. So we have a couple of things. We have 3 things here. And if we look at the documentation, we can see, hey, that's pretty much all we need there. In a future video, or maybe in this video, I'll go ahead and make it auto increment. But for now, this is all good. So the next thing we need to do is I think it's the data access model. Yeah, data access model. So let's go ahead and do this. And just to make things simple, so we need to first we create a new interface, and we name it like products DAO for data access object. And then this is where our queries go. So say if we want to get everything from the database, we can say, hey, select all from products. And then we have a function there that'll get all, and it will get a list of all of our products. Or say we want to insert something in the database, we can annotate it with insert. And we can do fun, insert all, and then we just pass in some users. So we're going to use the select all, and then we're going to use insert all, because we need a way to put stuff in the database and then get stuff out of the database. And then we also have delete, which we're not really going to do. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is let's go back into our database package there. Let's go to new, we'll do Kotlin file class, and this, we'll call this products DAO for product data access object. And we need to make this an interface, so I'll go ahead and make that an interface. The first thing we need to do here is annotate it with DAO. That should pull in their room up there, you see, and it lets it know that, hey, this is a room database access object or whatever. So let's do this. So if you look back at the documentation, let's just go ahead and copy it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and let's go back inside of here, and I'm going to paste it in there. Then I'm going to, oh, it gives me some errors. Let's go ahead and fix that. So put your mouse over there and do Alt-Enter, import, and there we are. And then it's complaining about this because we don't actually have a user. We named it, what do we name it? I think it's supposed to be, well, we don't, that can be, there we go, that'll work for now. I think we're doing it the right way. And then we have a list of database, what was it called? Oh yeah, product from database. Product from database. Now in real life, we're going to go back and name this something else different, but I just don't want to confuse that with our product because we have, those are two separate things. So we do have our product. So we do have our product from database, and I think they might have, the documentation might have been a little bit different. Anyway, this will work for now. So select, so every time we call this get all, it'll get a list of product from database. So a list of that. So if we have 100 products, it'll get me back 100 products. And to back up this method right here, to back up all of that, we have our annotation which says, hey, query the database, select all products from, or select, and that star means all. So select all from what database? From the product from database. That's actually, I'm not even sure if that's right. The documentation might be a little bit wrong. I don't know. So let's go back to the documentation. And in this case, they have it where you can like pass in a user ID and get that user back. Or you can find by first name. It's kind of like searching your database. And in a future video, we might add that so where you can actually like search for products. Like you can put in genes and it will show you all of the genes. Let's go ahead and copy one more thing there. I'm going to copy that. And this is how we insert stuff into the database. So go ahead and insert that in there. It's giving us some errors. So click on it, do Alt-Enter, and let's go ahead and import that. Then we also have, let's go ahead and name this. We'll name this products. Then we'll be of type. We'll do product from database. That should work. And oops, messed that up. Save it, reformat it. And I think this is all good. So we have our product from database. This is where we actually add our, and we'll change that later, but we have title and price. Actually, let's do one more thing. Let's make that nullable. So that may be important in a future video, but that could be nullable. Okay. Actually, no. Oh, let's go ahead and do one more thing while we're here. So this ID here, let's make this auto increment. So we'll do that, and then we'll do, I think it's called auto generate equals true. So that way, this number starts at 0 and goes all the way up to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say we're to add another one in, it'd be a 6. Add another one in, it'd be 7, 8, 9, 10. So it just kind of increments that. So that way we can, well, it'll be clear in a future video. So I think we're done with that. We're done with that. Let's go back to the documentation and see what else we need to do. So if we come down here, we're not going to implement this searching functionality right now, and we're not going to do the delete either. So I think the delete is fine. So now we need to do something else. We need an app database. This is going to kind of set up our database. It kind of lets us know, hey, we want what kind of class it is, and then the version of the database. Well, this needs to be an abstract class, app database. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and copy all of that just to make things simple. A lot of times you can copy and paste, but needs to be a little bit of modification. So I'm going to go to the database, and I'm going to go to new Kotlin file class, and I'll name this app database, and this needs to be a class. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to paste it in right there. So we have a lot of errors, so let's do that. Let's go ahead and click right there on database, do Alt-Enter. That imports database, that gets rid of that. The next thing is this array of, so like this database is going to say, hey, what kind of models are we going to use? And in this case, we're going to use the product from database. I think that's right. So let's do product from database. That should get rid of all of that error. Now we have a couple more errors here. So room database, I'm going to click on there and do Alt-Enter. That imports the room database. Then this right here, remember inside of the documentation, they have an example for users. So they had, what do they have? Yeah, they had the user data access object. We named ours something different. We named it product data access object. So if we go back to app database, let's do one more thing. We'll do product DAO, there it is. And that gets rid of all the errors on this screen. So this is all ready. Now, one more thing I want to change is a couple more things. I want to change it from user data access object to product product data access object. That's hard to say. One more thing here, we can actually click on there and do Alt-Enter, and then we'll replace it with a Kotlin syntax there really quickly. So this is all good. So we have our data, we first created our product from database, then we did our product data access object, then we did our app database. So let's go back to the documentation and see what else we have to do. So we just created that. The next thing we need to do is actually build our database. So how can we do this? Let's just go ahead and why not just copy this code. A lot of times I'm not a fan of well, it kind of depends. Sometimes I like copying code, sometimes I don't. I like the learning process from typing it out yourself. I feel like I remember it a lot more that way. But for now, let's just go ahead and copy that. And by the way, these links will be in, I'll put these links in the description, like that link right there. And also I'll put some other links in my, description. So let's go ahead and do this. One more thing. Let's go back to, I think it's in main fragment. Can we do it here? Let's just go ahead and go to main activity. And just to get something, just to like prove that this is actually working, let's do one more thing. Let's open up main activity, and I'm going to close all the other tabs. We can just right click and go close others. And now we just have our main activity class opened up. So just to finish this up really quickly, we need to actually query the database. So that's how we can do it right there. So we just copied that, and let's do this. Let's go down to here, and so if we go back to our main fragment, you can see we actually we're doing stuff on the background thread. So we have do a sync on a background thread, then we have UI thread there. So let's do this. Let's do a sync, and then let's do UI thread. So this imports a bunch of stuff in, and inside of our background thread, which basically says, hey, we want to do we're gonna do something that could be kind of slow. We don't want to block the user, so what we're going to do is we're going to do it in the background. So they can still click on stuff, they can still navigate the app, they can still scroll through this, but in the background what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually do it in the background behind the scenes. Let's go ahead and paste the code into here, and should give us some errors. So room, we can just click on room, do Alt-Enter, and we're going to go ahead and import that, I think. Then we have our app database. We actually named it, oh yeah, we did name it app database. So there's our app database. So we need that. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and close others. Click on there and do Alt-Enter. That should, I think, did we do everything right? Let me think. Product DAO. I think we're missing something. No, we're not. Oh, because I copied this code over, yeah. So I had entities and version. We'll get to that later. So we have everything here. I think this is all good. So now let's do one last thing. So let's go to the background thread here. And again, all of this is on a background thread. That's on. So once we're done doing stuff in the background, we're going to say, hey, actually update the app. So this is where we actually display the products or display the information. This right here is all behind the scenes with do a sync. So let's do something else. Oh, not that. Let's do db dot, and again, our db variable comes from right there, dot product DAO dot insert all. So now we need to pass in something we want to insert into the database. And it's looking for a product from database. Yeah, sure enough, if I were to control click on that, you can see, hey, this insert all takes a list, kind of like a list of product from database. That's the type of it. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's do, and we can put our mouse in there and do Control P, and it says, hey, product from database. So we do a product, for the UID, we're going to pass in null, and I think that might work. The title we'll do socks. Why not? Who loves socks? And for this, it's going to be, let's do 1.99. Say this is a lot of socks. So say socks, 1 dozen. It's a good price. I think 1 dozen pairs of socks for $1.99 is a good deal. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then I want to do one more thing. And this, I don't know if this will work or not, but let's just do this. Let's do D, and this is kind of where we can like debug to the logcat. So we'll do Daniel, then we'll do product size. And then this is where we need to create this a variable. So let's do this. Let's do variable equals, well, actually no, we're just inserting, sorry. So we need to do one more thing. So right here, we're inserting stuff into the database. So we get our database, which is that right there. We get our product DAO, which is right there. Then what we do is we insert all, which is right there. And I'm just control clicking on it. So we inserted something in the database, but we actually have to read it. So if you go back to our data access object, we can use the get all. So let's do one more thing. So let's insert it into the database. Then right after that, let's do this. Let's do db.productDAO.getAll, and that'll get us the products. So let's do this. Let's do val products equals that. And then we'll do, so we're getting our products there. We're inserting in the database the socks. And then we're immediately after that reading from the database. Then we're going to come to the UI thread and say, hey, we're done doing stuff. We're done doing all of our stuff on the background. We're done doing all of that on the background. We want to actually show it to the user. So we'll do this. We'll do products.size, and that'll get us the size of the database. So let's go ahead and just run this, and let's just see if this works. It's probably, I bet you it's not going to work. Let's make sure Wi-Fi is on. Let's just run it just to see. So Gradle is building down there. And this will be a miracle if it works. So now let's go back to our logcat, and we should see, if this worked correctly, we should see Daniel product size equals then 1 because we just inserted one product in the database. So let's go to the logcat and let's see. And if I were to, I actually was doing this earlier, but here's all of our logcat. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's search for products. And this happened on the 20th at 8:29. So we know that, hey, that's the correct time there. And you can see we have product size equals 1. So guess what? This actually worked, which is a miracle. So it's saying, hey, we have the product size is 1. So that's because we inserted a product. We inserted one pair of socks. So we have our socks there, and that's the one item in the database. So if I were to go back to the app and just watch the logcat there, and if I were to kill this app and open it up again, let's see what happens. Now it says product size is 2 because it's 2 because every time we open up this every time we open up the app, it calls main activity and opens that up. And every time it calls main activity, it's doing all of this here. And this includes the database. So now we have 2 pairs of socks. So see socks there too. If I were to close this, open it back up again, you'll see, hey, it should be 3. So we have 3 socks in the database. So this is setting, this set it all up. And if you want to do something, we can do, let's do one more thing. Let's do, we'll do product, and we'll get, actually let's do it this way. Let's do products, and let's get position at the position 0, let's get the title. So we're going to also debug the title there. So I'm going to go ahead and run that, and let's go back to the emulator, and let's watch the logcat at the bottom there. So now it says, hey, product size is 4 because, yeah, it increments every time. But also we have, look at this, socks 1 dozen. That's being read from the database at position 0. We could just as easily put 1, 2, or 3 there and get the title. But I think I'm going to stop the video here because it's getting kind of long. In the next video, we'll actually take this products variable there and we'll kind of mesh it up with this main fragment here. So this will all work offline. So if I were, right now, if I were to go ahead and, if I were to kill internet and so Wi-Fi is off and mobile data is off, actually this might actually, yeah, this actually might work. So I'm going to go ahead and click the trash can icon to clear that. So it's all gone. I'm going to open up Dan's app, e-commerce app again. And look, we still have product size is 5 and we're still getting the socks back. So look, 1 dozen. So even though we don't have internet here, and even though the loading icon is still spinning, it doesn't mean that the database didn't work. The database definitely worked. We're just not displaying it right now. But look at our product size is 5, and then we have socks 1 dozen. That's being read from the database. So what we need to do next is take this we need to take this data right here. We need to take this products variable, and we actually need to show it to the user. This is getting kind of long, so we'll do that in the next video. So I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, look at the description of the YouTube video. I'll have a link to my LinkedIn profile. Connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a connection request and we can stay in touch. So I'll see you in the next video.